Hello guys, listen, we're going to talk about silver. And what we're going to talk about is how we passed peak silver and the reasons why we've passed peak silver and why it's all going to be downhill from here, and it's going to be a much quicker slide downhill. For thousands of years, mankind has mined silver. And they used to mine it out of the ground, quite literally, with picks and shovels. They used to mine it out of the ground using animals to pull up the ore. Now, for you guys that are not really into mining, some people might not know what ore is. What ore is the higher concentrations. When they go into an area and they find a high concentration of precious metals, gold, silver, tin, copper, whatever, that where the metal is located inside the earth, that's called ore. And they haul this ore up and out, and then they process it to get the silver out of it. Now, for thousands of years, this has been done. But they only want to work in areas where they're going to get a significant amount of the metal per ton of ore. So now, I'm going to tell you what. You can go to Home Depot and buy bags of masonry sand. And there is gold in that masonry sand. There's probably gold in your yard right now, in your driveway. But it's not in significant concentrations. It's in per ton. It's like you might have to actually, if you were to take and tear your driveway up in front of your house, and if you were to run it through a sluice and extract the fine particles of gold out of it, you would probably be able to get gold out of your driveway, but you would have to do a tremendous amount of work. You might have to go through 100 tons just to get 1 ounce. Okay, so it doesn't make it practical. But where there's a gold mine, they get a lot more per ton of ore than, and this is what makes a mine practical. A mine becomes practical when the concentrations of metal in the ore is greater or more significant. So the higher the concentrations of metal in the ore, the more significant the ore is, and the more significant the mine is. This is how it works. The gold never really is just laying there where you can pick it up in the form of gold. Like some people, they picture in their mind when the silver mine, that they just go in there and there's lumps of silver laying in the ground. That's not how it works. There's tiny little particles of silver spread all through the ore. And they have to sift the ore. Actually, they don't sift it. They use different processes of adding chemicals and stuff to it to get those tiny little particles out, extract them, and to make it into your silver bar. Or they do the same thing with gold. Generally, what they have to do is they have to go down in and they have to take the ore out and they have to crush it into a powder through crushers, rock crushers and stuff. Now, in the old days, they used to have to do all this by hand. So they needed very high concentrations in the ore. And they didn't have a problem with that in the old days because they hadn't mined the mines out like they've mined them out now. Now, at this point, at this stage in the game, through modern industry, it's increased their ability to move ore or ore production by using diesel fuel. Basically, they take the diesel fuel and they set up conveyor belts. They set up big rock crushers. They have big, giant, enormous earth-moving machines that can extract the ore up out of the ground, take it across conveyor belts, crush it, and it's all processed with machinery. They move massive amounts of ore. This wasn't capable of just 100 years ago. They weren't able to do this. But this is where the fault is because they're able to move massive quantities of ore. They have moved massive quantities of ore in the last few years, and this is why mining production's been able to increase. It's through modern techniques. But there's huge faults in this, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. One of the huge faults in particular is the fact that the silver price did pop up to like $50 or almost $50 not long ago. And it slowly decreased in price. What this did was, these new modern techniques, because silver was very profitable, even if it was only for a short period of time, it was up like $30, $40, $50. It was very profitable at that particular point in time. And they moved massive machinery into these mines, and basically they pulled out the ore, started pulling out the ore and processing it. And it increased world silver production. This is what happened. But now that the price is slumped off back down to like $14, it's not near as profitable as it was. So what they've done in the mines is they've said, hey, look, boys, when silver was $50, we had Section A and Section B and Section C in the mine, all working simultaneously. Well, Section A and Section B, the ore grade's not that great. It was good back when silver was $50 an ounce, but now it's not that great, now that silver's $14 an ounce. We're not really being profitable in those two sections of the mine. This is what they've said, right? And they say, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to pool our production. We're going to bring all of our machines, and we're working this section of the mine where the ore grades are higher, so that we can maintain profitability in the mine. So that's what they've done in the last year or two. They've consolidated into their highest grade ore sections, where they're getting the highest grade, most amount of metal per ton out of their ore. And they've been digging in there feverishly to try to keep up with world silver production. Now, here's where it gets the nitty-gritty. Down to where the rubber meets the road. Where the rubber meets the road is got to do with the price of diesel, because they use diesel fuel to move all these conveyor belts, all these digging machines, all of these giant mixing machines where they extract and everything. Everything runs on diesel fuel. So silver production is extremely sensitive to the price of fuel. Oil, to be exact, because diesel, they get diesel from oil. Okay, it doesn't grow on trees, it comes from oil. So anyway, what happens is right now, at this particular moment in time, prices of fuel have fell. And I think this has everything to do with Saudi Arabia and OPEC. But this is not something that is perhaps permanent. I think looking out into the future, not too far in the distant future, we're going to see oil prices pop. Now, if oil prices double, and believe me, oil prices could double, these guys are going to need significantly more money for extracting silver out of the ground. Not only that, because the last couple years they've been digging out their best ore out of these mines, they've created a situation for themselves that's non-sustainable unless the oil price goes down, lower than it is now even. It's a non-sustainable situation. Silver production could drop off significantly, especially if the oil price goes up. And I personally believe that oil price is going to go up, and it's going to go up big time. The situation in not only Saudi Arabia, but with Iran, and the situation in the Middle East is a tinderbox, for crying out loud. We've had things good for the last few years. We've grown soft. The silver industry out there has had really good production, significant production in the last few years, right? And they've been pretty much keeping up with demand for industry and so on. But, like I say, there's never going to be an actual time in history in the foreseeable future, within the next 20 years, where there is no silver. In other words, there's no silver in the ground, there's no silver that people actually hold. Because There's an awful lot of silver in the world. There's 9 times as much silver as there is gold. Right? In the ground, ready to come out. But that's silver that's in the ground. So we got to take a look at what does it actually take to get that silver out of the ground. So we're going to start the charts right here, and we're going to take a look at, this was a long, comprehensive study that I was reading this morning. And I'm going to tell you, it says, are the world's leading primary silver mines exhausting? And I went through all of this, and there's an awful lot of data here. I mean, I'm not going to take you guys all the way through this because it would probably take me 2 hours, and I don't want to make this show 2 hours. I basically want to make this show about 10 minutes. So we're going to look down through here, maybe 15 minutes, I don't know. But we're going to look down through here, and you can see it's a long, comprehensive study. It goes on and on. And I read most of this, but I read it quick. Like, I read through it quick, and there's a lot of charts and stuff. And they get down to the bottom here, and let's see, where is the bottom? We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, we're getting there. We're still getting there. I told you it's a long study, you know. Total reserves. This is a very comprehensive study. It's really a good one. But getting down to their conclusion. And I couldn't say it better myself, so I'm going to read it to you guys. It says, conclusions. This paper is based on the analysis of mining production of statistical samples consisting of 12 of the world's top 15 largest primary silver mining sites. The findings of this study, in short, are that the primary silver contents, in terms of silver ore grade of these mines, have been gradually and significantly reduced during the periods of 2007 to 2016. Now, the primary silver content, in terms of silver ore grade, has been significantly reduced during the periods of 2007 until 2016. Now, what does that mean? That means that when they dig that ore out of the ground, they use a diesel fuel to dig it out of the ground, they're getting less silver per ton than they were back in 2007. And what does it say here? What's the word they're using? Significantly reduced in the ore grade. The reason why they've been keeping up with production is very simple. Is because they've been moving to modern techniques of moving that ore so that they're able to move massively amounts of more ore than they used to be able to back when they were doing it with a pick and shovel. Now that they're using conveyor belts and stuff, they're moving tons of ore per second. And this has enabled them to keep up with silver production. But it's all dependent on fuel, because every time they move an ounce of ore from point A to point B, it takes diesel fuel. It says, now we'll read on, it says, this is confirmed for most of the decade, from 2007 to 2016, at least 2 facts. Fact number 1, the average silver content of the extracted mineral from the examined mines has progressively and significantly decreased, partly counterbalanced to an increase in the efficiency of mining separation technologies and the corresponding recovery rates. The historical cumulative decreasing estimate variations of silver ore grade of resource and reserves. It says, very likely, in order to maintain an equivalent silver production and compensate for the more and more lower average silver grades, the companies have optimized the milling capacity of their separation plants, producing less waste, as we have seen in Figure 3. This situation could probably imply in the next years an increase of extraction costs for these 12 analyzed mining sites. Now, getting down to the nitty-gritty, where the rubber meets the road, this means that even at the prices of oil right now, right, there is going to be a significant increase in the price of extraction costs for silver. So right now we're looking at about right around $14. Their cost of production right now. They're not making any money right now. Okay? This is simple. They're not making any money. But they are going to be looking in the next few years at a significant increase of extracting costs. Now, that is basing it on the price oil is right now. What if oil doubles in price? What's going to happen to their extraction costs then? They're going to need more money. They're going to pass it on to the consumer, to the silver consumer. Because if they drop the price of silver down too much lower than it is right now, it's going to cut into world mining production. And we're going to have a silver shortage. But if gasoline prices go up too, and fuel and diesel oil prices go up, and the cost of machinery goes up, and believe me, it's going up, silver cannot stay at these prices. The mines will not produce enough silver for industry. So, here's where the problem lies. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next show. Bye-bye, guys.